been handled any better. Let that sink in as we report about what's happening in Afghanistan over the next 20 minutes. We're going to get to what options might still exist to get Americans out, along with all the major military and political implications in a minute. But first, some more pictures for you. Those trying to escape face unthinkable violence by the Taliban, as Taliban thugs beat those on the way to the airport. Clarissa Ward of CNN captured these pictures of the Taliban whipping people. Their only crime was trying to get out. HOLLIE MCKAY is an independent journalist reporting from Afghanistan, and as always, we appreciate you being with us, HOLLIE. You ventured out today, as I understand it, and the Taliban is in complete control?
Yes, the Taliban is in complete control. They control every checkpoint. They're presiding over every store. And they're definitely on this very bizarre PR blitz, Leland, where they're trying to soften their image somewhat. And they're trying to send a message to the outside world that they aren't the same Taliban that existed in 2001. And it's just been interesting to see the extent to which they're going to make me and to make other people that have been in the city feel, I guess, comfortable, so to speak. And I know that as a foreigner, they might be quite nice to me, but I understand a lot of my Afghans, they won't experience that kind of hospitality, especially when the United States leaves.
I never thought I'd hear the words hospitality and Taliban in the same sentence. I understand you went out and interviewed some members of the Taliban. We have some pictures that you posted on Instagram available. Tell us what they were saying to you.
So it was kind of a bit of a dichotomy. It's been a wild few hours. We actually had to rely on the Taliban to escort us safely through a lot of checkpoints so that I could get to the Uzbek border, because, as you can see, it's increasingly difficult to get back to Kabul or to kind of find another route out of the country. So this has really been my only option. But in terms of talking to the Taliban, the older Taliban leaders that I talked to, the commanders, they were very quick to sort of tell me that what they wanted was a Sharia law. And when I sort of pressed, well, what does that mean? They would say, well, if you murder someone, you get murdered. If you steal, you have your hand chopped off. Women should be completely covered in a burqa. So they were sort of reciting laws that did exist 20 years ago, that at the same breath, they were also trying to say that they weren't the same Taliban. And I think they're just trying to say that they're smooth takeovers, and the fact that there wasn't a lot of violence when they came in is far different to what happened back in the 90s. So it's utterly bizarre, if I can describe it in any way. And then the younger Taliban members that I spoke to, they were a lot more they just wanted to be on their phones. They wanted to be on Instagram. They wanted to chat with their friends. A lot of them were picking up army uniforms that had been dumped by the military and getting rid of the insignia and wearing them around themselves and just kind of joking around. It was just this crazy to me to sort of think that these people were now running a country, or, it's just mind-blowing. But having said that, they all have gone out of their way to be especially nice and courteous to me.
Where do you think that comes from? It seems organized in one sense to be nice and courteous to you. So they've got that part of the PR blitz down. But then we look at these pictures out of Kabul and out of other parts of the country where they're beating people and they're shooting at people. And we've heard reports of other atrocities, of people being paraded down the streets with nooses and summarily executed, and threats being given to former American translators that if you don't get out, we're going to burn you alive. Another former translator who was burned alive. How do you square those two things?
I think it's really hard to, I guess, for the organization. It's such a big organization, and there just seems to be, the numbers are mind-blowing. They're just, everywhere you go, there are so many. But I think it's hard to really put a thumb over that many people. And I think even if sort of some of the top brass wanted to change their image and soften their image for the international community, it's very hard. You're going to have rogue elements regardless. And I think that the Taliban, you see in certain places, might be advocating a softer image, and then other places, you've got elements that are ready to impose their law right here, right now. And my fear is that we are going to see a lot more of the heavy-handedness, especially as the US leaves. I mean, if we're seeing this now, I can only imagine what we're going to be seeing next week and the week after that. And my heart is really with the Afghans.
Already, the American State Department is saying that people aren't being allowed through the checkpoints towards the airport. We have some video that we want to show you, and I don't know if you can see it, but it's of counter-Taliban protests in a couple of cities with them waving Afghan flags, the old Afghan flag, tearing down the Taliban flag. I have to imagine the people who are doing that are putting their lives at risk. What's the Taliban going to try to do to these folks?
Yeah, that is the fear. My guess is that while the situation is still headline news and the US still does have a footprint there, they will be a little bit more tame. But you know, I have a very close friend of mine who's a big women's rights activist, and she's already told me that she's plans to go out and she's not going to be wearing the burqa. And my heart is with her, because I can only imagine what she's going to have to deal with down the track, and I can't imagine that they're going to treat that too kindly. So we just have to kind of wait and see what happens, and that's the really sad bit, is that we no longer have any kind of influence to try to protect people that are fighting for their rights.
Well, Holly, your reporting has been nothing short of remarkable. Our